Dr. Now is the incredibly popular and somewhat controversial main character of the show My 600 Pound Life. In the show My 600 Pound Life, Dr. Now performs weight loss surgeries on patients that are normally over 600 pounds that a lot of times are very helpful for the people that are on the show. Now, the show has gained a lot of praise and a lot of people are really happy with the show and what it's been able to do with the other people that are on the show. But there has also been a good amount of backlash and controversies surrounding the show. And so today we are going to be talking about those controversies and just about the show in general. Throughout the life of the show, there's been many accusations towards Dr. Now and the production company that created the show. And even more recently, there have been some accusations that have been saying that Dr. Now has been fired from the show My 600 Pound Life. Are any of these things true? Let's find out. Before we get into the controversies and everything surrounding the show, I would like to know if you do watch the show, and I'm kind of curious, if you do watch the show, what is it about the show that you enjoy, and what is it about the show that kind of keeps pulling you back? I know a lot of people have their own reasons of watching shows like this. Obviously, this show has kind of spawned a whole group of different shows that are very similar, kind of follow people along their weight loss journeys. And so I'm kind of curious, if you do watch the show, what is it about the show that you enjoy? Dr. Now was born and raised in Iran. He received his medical degree from the University of Tehran in 1970, then moved to the US and eventually started his own medical practice focusing on weight loss surgery for obese patients. Dr. Now was in his medical practice for many years before becoming the Dr. Now we know on TLC's My 600 Pound Life. Something that many people actually don't know is that My 600 Pound Life was created by Dr. Now's son, Jonathan. Jonathan owns the production company Megalomania and produced part of a documentary that aired in 2008 called Half Ton Mom, about Renee Williams, who gained a lot of weight after a big injury and desperately needed weight loss surgery. Doctors from all over the world were featured trying to help her, and eventually she got surgery. Unfortunately, she passed away soon after getting the surgery. Jonathan made sure to include his father, Dr. Now's expertise in the documentary. He also made a few similar documentaries that were just as successful. He then pitched to his father and the TLC networks the concept of 600 Pound Life, a series similar to the documentaries. All parties agreed, and Jonathan's production company Megalomania spent years putting together the stories of those on the first season of My 600 Pound Life. The show aired to rave reviews, and Dr. Now was portrayed as a beacon of hope for those who were superly morbidly obese watching. Subsequent seasons had growing success. Now, everything at the start was well and good, but eventually, as the show became more and more popular, more and more people started noticing some negatives and kind of talking about the negatives in the show. News outlets, YouTubers, myself included, and just people in general, articles and stuff like that kind of started surfacing of maybe this isn't only positive and there are some negatives that should be talked about. People were pointing out everything from how Dr. Now spoke to many of his patients, to the very low-calorie diet he gives patients, to how he seemingly threatens them that he will kick them out of his program if they don't lose enough weight to get the surgery, to forcing them to film certain scenes like binge eating, showering, going to the bathroom. This was not sustainable, healthy behavior overall. The negative buzz around Dr. Now and the show heightened once some former patients passed away, unalived themselves, and other patients started to come out with their behind-the-scenes stories. This TikTok is from, it's a couple TikToks, is from Samantha Mason, who I've actually featured on the channel before. She goes by Vanilla Hippo online, but she was actually a person that was on My 600 Pound Life. And in these sequential TikToks, she talks about her experience on My 600 Pound Life and how a lot of it was quote unquote fake, which I think any of us that are watching these reality TV shows, hopefully you understand that a lot of these scenarios are fake or they're scripted or a lot of it's just not very true. But she kind of goes in depth and shares her experience. Again, I want to make it clear, it's only one person's experience who clearly had not a great one, and so take everything with a grain of salt. But I do think it's interesting to hear from the people that are featured on these shows, and the reason these shows are successful, right, is because of the people that are featured. So without further ado, let's go ahead and check out this video.
So the majority of you follow me because of my appearance on the show that I don't name. I don't really talk about it anymore, and probably won't after this, to be honest. But as of this morning, I started at 998 pounds, and now I am down to 543. So I believe altogether that's 455.
It's insane. She was basically 1,000 pounds at the start.
Pounds that I've lost altogether. I did say that I was not going to talk about my weight, but I have been in a horrible headspace for the entire year, pretty much the whole last year. June was my year since the gastric sleeve, and the entire time I've pretty much been in a horrible headspace, like hospitalized headspace. I don't remember what you guys were told I started and ended at during the filming of that garbage, but I don't think any of the numbers were true. I started at 998, and I think that they said it was some other number. It was close to 998, there we go. And then I think that they said when I ended, it was something around 500 or something. But when I was in the rehab hospital, that very last clip of me when I'm like, hey, blah, 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 I'm in a rehab hospital, which I was actually sitting in while I was watching the show air. Fun fact. But while I was in there, I was like 703 or something. So it was not down to, as far as they said. The stomach staple left me with really bad mental problems. I was vomiting all the time, at least once a day. Pretty much have been since this thing started. I can drink water funny. I can eat an extra half bite of something too fast, vomit. I'm surprised my teeth aren't rotted out of my face.
Yeah, stuff like this is it's pretty common with weight loss surgeries, and especially like it is sad, and it seems like it's kind of counterintuitive, but usually the larger that you are, the more issues that can arise. And so again, one of the reasons that Dr. Now is so popular and he was able to make a name for himself is because he is willing to work on people that are, clearly close to 1,000 pounds. There's a lot of bariatric doctors that won't work on someone that is that large because the amount of risks that there are. And so it's clear that's why he is so strict at the beginning of all of the episodes about the people losing a certain amount of weight before they get this surgery, because the risks are so much higher the larger that you are, right? And so you're probably wondering yourself, why would someone go through this if they clearly didn't have a good time, or why would they even, if they didn't even enjoy the show or be happy with how it came out? I think a lot of the reasons the people that do it is because they are promised, obviously, payment for being on the show. No, I don't know how much that is. Usually it's not that much, but they are also offered free surgery, right? The surgery is covered, which a lot of times can be unbelievably expensive. And so having someone cover that for you is obviously a huge, huge deal for a lot of people that might be in a financial situation that they can't afford that.
So that was mental. And then in that October, I had a paniculectomy. They took 100 pounds off of me in an afternoon. I could walk. It was great. But I got really bad body dysmorphia. Like I said, I was still vomiting. The wounds have never healed. They were like dehiscing. You can look that word up. The wounds were. I'm still like weeping fluid. So it's been quite the journey that you guys have no idea about.
This is a response to a comment that was on that original video where she is saying something to this person. So the comment is kind of comical, but it says, Dr. Now wants you to be at 200 by now, right? So that's kind of a meme in the show. He's always telling people you need to have lost this much weight by this this amount of time. And so that's a comment that is being left, and she is replying to that comment.
I don't give three shits what Dr. Now wants. I didn't work with Dr. Now. I worked with Dr. Haydari. I talked to Dr. Now for 20 minutes. In that entire 2 hours that I was on TV, you guys saw how much I talked to him. That's it. The day after that, I got a call from his nurse getting my information and shit. So they had anticipated me going to Houston, but I didn't. COVID hit. I couldn't fit into cars. Yada, yada, yada. Blah, blah, blah. I just went home. Then I fell or something happened. I went back to the hospital and met Dr. Haydari. I stayed in the hospital for a month, lost 100 pounds. And then suddenly, Megalomedia pops back up.
So again, Megalomedia is the company that is owned by Dr. Now's son, right?
Hey, how you been? I said, you deserted me for 8 months or something, like 6 to 8 months. What are you popping back up now for? I have no clue how they even found out that I was having surgery. I thought that they just forgot about it. I was praying to a God I barely believe in, you know? Praying that they'd just forgotten about me. Like, I didn't want to be on the show anymore. I found Dr. Haydari, but I had signed that goddamn fucking contract. I had no other choice but to fucking play by their rules. So they came in, and I was just a piece of shit. You can tell the difference between the first of the show and around the end of the show on how I'm acting. I annoyed those people as much as I fucking could. And those men, the people behind the cameras, smelled horrible. Oh, God, they smelled like they had never showered. My 1,000-pound ass smelled better than those people. So, I'm in the process of making a YouTube video of, like, the behind-the-scenes shit.
I looked for that video, and I wasn't able to find it, so I don't know if it was uploaded and deleted or just has never been uploaded, but I wasn't able to find it.
You don't have to believe me if you don't want to. I don't give two shits, but I've got, like, backup receipts and shit for stuff, so stay tuned. The show is disgusting. Disgusting. They talked to Dr. Haydari into pretending, it was all pretend, that Dr. Now and him worked together, which was not the case. You have to literally live in Houston to be a patient of Dr. Nowzaradan's. That's one of the biggest rules. That's why everybody in the show moves to Houston. Now, did you ever see me move to Houston? Did you ever see me even get into a regular car to go to Houston?
Again, I want to make it clear that is just one person's experience. But again, I do think that it's interesting sharing someone who has been on the show, however limited that capacity might have been, and their experience on it. Also, some patients have actually filed some lawsuits against Jonathan, the owner of Megalomania, and the negligence and alleged abuse they suffered while filming the show. Other lawsuits are filed against Dr. Now himself and his clinic for malpractice, including accusations that he left medical instruments inside of a patient. Another really big issue with the show that a lot of people have brought up is actually aftercare, right? It's obviously good that these people lose weight, but a lot of times I think those of us who don't even have to lose, 300, 400 pounds, those of us who have to lose 50 to 100 pounds, understand that just losing the weight is only part of the battle, and that there are a lot of other things that kind of go along with it, struggling with your mental health, and there have been a few people that have struggled with their mental health after the show, and they felt they were not given enough help in that aspect. This is an article that talks a little bit about it. The title of the article is My 600 Pound Life, Why Some Former Cast Members Are Suing Producers. We're going to skip this part, but I want to read this part right here. So, the late My 600 Pound Life star James Bonner wanted justice. So it goes on to say, James Bonner was featured on My 600 Pound Life Season 6 and quickly became a fan favorite thanks to his laid-back persona. He would end his stint on the show by losing over 200 pounds. Tragically, James L.B. Bonner would die by suicide in 2018 at the age of 30. It was after his death that his family called out My 600 Pound Life producers, accusing them of playing a role in James's passing. According to the family, after refusing to pay medical bills as agreed, the series producers showed no concern when James reached out to them for mental health support. One higher-up from the show reportedly responded to James' cry for help with "fake it till you make it." Jeez. According to Starcasm, as a result, the family of the late reality star filed a lawsuit against producers alleging gross negligence, claiming that the company backed out of several promises to James and they allegedly pressured him to film when he wasn't comfortable or prepared and failed to provide him with mental health care despite alarming warning signs. And then it says, the late 600-pound life, Caleb Gina Crassley also filed a lawsuit. Gina Marie Crassley from My 600 Pound Life Season 8 also filed a lawsuit in early 2020 alongside Gian Covey and Maja Radanovic from Season 7, seeking $1 million in damages from My 600 Pound Life production company. According to the lawsuit, the trio sought compensation because of producers' negligence, including lack of care for their patients. The former cast members alleged that producers knew of the risks involved with extreme dieting, such as higher likelihoods of depression and suicide, and didn't provide adequate mental health support and services. Gina also claimed that in order to support the show's narrative, producers wanted her to consume large quantities of food while cameras were rolling. Sadly, similar to James, Gina is a My 600 Pound Life alum who died young. She passed away at the age of 30 in late 2021. While it is unclear if her lawsuit will proceed, many My 600 Pound Life fans miss her greatly. They are standing with alums who have shared facts about the trauma they experienced while filming. Former stars such as David Bolton, Nicole Lewis, Anjanette Whaley, Destiny Lachey, and Alicia Kerrigan have also sued and spoken out about the show's producers for similar reasons. The outcome of these lawsuits is, as of now, uncertain. Now, I know we have focused quite a bit on the negatives of the show, but clearly the show is doing well for TLC. It's making them money. That's why it keeps going. And I'm sure there are plenty of people that were on the show that are actually happy with the fact that they were on the show. So I don't want this video to be some like dunk on My 600 Pound Life and say that it should be canceled. That's not what I'm saying at all. I just wanted to bring up some of the negatives, right? I do think that one thing that I would hope most people would agree on is if you do decide to go on the show, in my mind, the show does not exist if these people that are very, very large, if they decide not to be very, very open and share these really, really embarrassing parts of their life, this show doesn't exist, right? So I think those people should be taken care of. Obviously, the surgery should be paid for, all of that stuff. But then after the fact, they should be taken care of. I think that that's something that most people, I would hope, would agree on and understand. If you're going through this, filming these really, really embarrassing parts of your life and sharing it with the world, understand there are probably going to be some negative mental health side effects from that. And so having some help, having psychiatrists, psychologists, just people to help with that mental health and have that covered so that people don't have to worry about paying for it, I feel like that is at least a step in the right direction. Throughout filming this video, I did find it very interesting that the people that produce the show, Dr. Now's son, are related to the main star of the show, Dr. Now, right? I do think that that is very interesting. And so when the accusations of people saying that Dr. Now was fired came out, it's not surprising that they obviously were not true, because I think if Dr. Now ends up leaving the show, the producers are probably not going to produce the show. It's almost like kind of like a family affair. And so I doubt that Dr. Now would ever really leave unless he left on his own volition, right? Like as far as being fired, I just really don't see that happening. At the end of the day, these shows clearly are something that a lot of people enjoy, and there have been many spin-off shows from it. One Ton Family, where our friend Casey was featured on, right? 1,000 Pound Sisters, 1,000 Pound Best Friends. There have been many, 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 many shows that show similar things. And so I don't think that the show is just going to stop, right? But I do think that at least now that the show has been out for so long and we see that there have been some negative side effects, I think it is good to take a step back, look at the negatives from this, and do our best to hopefully help those people out that are deciding to be so vulnerable and share these really, really, really embarrassing parts of their life. And so, again, I would love to know what you think. Like I said earlier, if you do watch the show, what is it about the show that you feel keeps you hooked? I would love to know. I would love to know what you thought of the video. I appreciate you all so much, and I'll see you next time. Peace.